Question answer on electoral politics. Which of the following statement about the reasons for conducting elections are false? The answer here is election enable people to evaluate the performance of the judiciary. So this is not at all related with elections because judiciary is an independent institution and people don't evaluate the performance of judiciary through elections. All other things people do. Which of these is not a good reason to say that Indian elections are democratic? So the answer is that India has the largest number of voters in the world. This is not at all related with Indian being or Indian Indian continent, Indian region is democratic or undemocratic. That is, it has nothing to do with this. That is, this is the false one. Others, if you take, they are quite true. Now match the following. It is necessary to keep the voters list up to date because some people, they may have moved away from the area where they have voted last. That means if this is the region, this is the region, this is region A, this is region B. Some might have gone here and their list, in this A's list, their name will be there. And in B list also, in B's place list, their name will be there. So it will be a discrepancy. Their name have to be removed from here, then added here, then only the things will be fine. Some constituencies are reserved for SCs and STs. This is because the candidates should represent the people who have elected them. So here we are going to this first one, we are going to relate it with this. That is, there is a fair representation of all sections of our society. Everyone has one and only one vote, so that, we'll relate it with the second one, everyone has equal opportunity to elect their representatives. Party in power is not allowed to use government vehicles because all candidates must have a fair chance of competing in elections. If someone is using the government vehicles or government, you can say resources, then the candidate using these resources will be in benefit, others will not. List all the different election related activities mentioned in this chapter and arrange them in a time sequence, beginning with the first activity and ending with the last one. So these are the activities from here to here. Let us see one by one. We are addressing them or enlisting them in the order of happening. So first of all, what is done? The voter list has been created. Then the election schedule is announced, followed by the election manifesto released by various parties. Then the campaign starts for election and these candidates now file the nomination. Then the people come and they cast their vote, and then if there is a problem in some polling station, there is an ordering of re-polling in these places, you can say Nirvachan Kshetra, and this is done by the Election Commission of India. Then after all the polls are done, counting of votes is being carried out. Once this is done, there is a declaration of election results, who has won and who has not. Surekha is an officer in charge of ensuring free and fair elections in an assembly constituency in a state. Describe what should she focus on for each of the following stages of elections. First is election campaign. So in election campaign, Surekha should focus on various duties like to ensure that candidates cannot bribe or threaten voters. Expenditure limit which has been given properly is not crossed by the candidate. Candidates not appeal to vote in the name of religion or caste. They should not use the worship place like the mandir, masjid, etc. for campaign or use any kind of government resources. This Surekha has to ensure. On polling day, what Surekha should do? She will have to cross-check the voter list and check the ID proof of the voters coming for casting their vote, and booth capturing should not take place, and she should ensure the free and fair election is conducted. On the counting day, Surekha should look on counting is properly carried out. Representative of all the parties, they are present at counting area just to avoid any kind of malpractices or any kind of discrepancy thereafter. The table below here, it shows actually there is a table, and this table has, if you see the book, it has given the proportion of different communities among the candidates who won election in the US Congress. To compare these to the proportion of these communities in the population of US, based on this, would you suggest a system of reservations in the US Congress? If yes, why? And for which communities? If not, why not? So if you see the table in your book, you will see that blacks and Hispanics, though the whites, they are elected in proportion of, or you can say more proportion of their Jansankhya or population. But the blacks and the Hispanics, they are not elected according to their population. So black and Hispanics should be given reservation, or this can be thought that there can't be any reservation for them in the US Congress as per their percentage in US population. So you have to refer to that table, then only you will be able to answer it. Can we draw the following conclusions from the information given in this chapter? Give 2 facts to support your position for each of these. First is, Election Commission of India does not have enough powers to conduct free and fair elections in the country. And see, Election Commission is a very, very powerful authority. This is powerful enough to conduct free and fair elections in the country. It implements the code of conduct, that is Achar Sanhita, and punishes any candidate or party if it violates this code of conduct. In elections, government officials work under Election Commission, not under the government. Second one is, there is a high level of popular participation in the elections in our country, and this is true. There is a high level of participation in the elections in our country. Voter turnout has increased over the past years, and election related activities in the last few years have seen a large participation by the people of the country. Next is, it is not very easy for the party in power to win an election. So this is what we have seen in history. The ruling party, mostly it loses. Half of the candidates or the Sansads, member of parliament, they lose their election. So it is not very easy for the party in power to win an election because of incumbency factors. The ruling parties routinely lose elections. Candidates who are known to spend a lot of money, they often lose elections. Many reforms are needed to make our elections completely fair and free and fair. So it is required, though mostly if you see in a broad view, our elections are free and fair only. But certain reforms are necessary to make our elections completely free and fair. First is to ensure that independents and small parties, they not suffer in elections because of the big party or because of the parties having a lot of money and power. To ensure candidates with criminal records should not participate. Anyone who is been by the court of law, if they are put in jail or they are convicted in any kind of crime that is a heinous crime, criminal records they have, the candidates should not participate. Chinnappa was convicted for torturing his wife for dowry. Satbir was held guilty for practicing untouchability. So Chinnappa doing dowry, Satbir doing untouchability. Now the court did not allow either of them to contest elections. Does this decision go against the principles of democratic elections? See, I don't think personally that this goes beyond the principles of democratic elections. This decision does not go against the principle of democratic elections. Any person who is convicted, as I said before, if someone is convicted, say for dowry or untouchability, for a crime that has not right to remain a part of society or done some heinous crime, therefore they have no right to contest the election, and this is done rightly. Here are some reports of electoral malpractices from different parts of the world. Is there anything that these countries can learn from India to improve their elections? What would you suggest in each case? First one is of Nigeria. During an election in Nigeria, the officer in charge of counting votes deliberately, knowingly increased the votes of one candidate and declared him elected. The court later found that more than 5 lakh exercise votes cast for one candidate were counted in favor of another. So what we can learn from our election way we are conducting, in this case representative of each candidate should be present to make sure that the votes are counted in a free and fair manner. Then comes Fiji. Just before elections in Fiji, a pamphlet was distributed warning voters that a vote for a former Prime Minister Mahendra Chaudhary will lead to bloodshed. This was a threat to voters of Indian origin. Now the Election Commission should set up an inquiry into this case, why and for whom and by whom this pamphlet has been distributed, and they should debar the candidate or the party involved in distributing such a pamphlet which is giving dhamki to the voters of Indian origin. In the US, each state has its own method of voting, its own procedure of counting, and its own authority of conducting elections. Each state, because United States of America it is. Authorities in the state of Florida took many controversial decisions that favored Mr. Bush in the presidential elections in 2000. But no one could change those decisions because every state has their own authority or way of conducting and counting the elections. Now in India, what happens? If we consider the backdrop, there should be a single election commission. We have a single election commission of India. So they also need to have single election commission which should be free from political influence like anyone Bush or any Trump, and should be responsible for conducting elections throughout the country. Here are some reports of malpractices in Indian elections. Identify what the problem in each case is, what should be done to correct the situation. First is, following the announcement of elections, the minister promised to provide financial aid to reopen the closed sugar mill. Now the minister, he was a minister for 5 years. Why he didn't do it earlier? At the time of elections being coming, he started doing or promising people. So after announcement of election, it is not legal to announce policy decision according to the Code of Conduct, Achar Sanhita. The minister should be immediately taken to task by the Election Commission and he should be debarred from the election. Second is, opposition parties alleged that their statements and campaign was not given due attention in Doordarshan and All India Radio. Now Doordarshan and All India Radio, they are government media institutions. So the Election Commission must ensure that all political party are given equal opportunity to appear on Doordarshan and All India Radio. Election Commission take action against misuse of this media. Should take action if anything is happening like this. An inquiry by the Election Commission showed that electoral rolls of a state contain name of 20 lakh fake voters. So the presence of fake voters means that the elections are rigged. There are malpractices going on by the authorities who prepared the electoral rolls. The Election Commission should supervise preparation of fresh electoral rolls. The hoodlums or the bad people of a political party were moving with guns, arms, physically preventing supporters of other political parties to meet the voters and attacking meeting of other parties. So by using these bad people, hoodlums, the political party is terrorizing the rival party members and the people itself, citizens. The Election Commission should order the arrest of the hoodlums and bar the party from the elections. Ramesh was not in the class when this chapter was being taught. He came the next day and repeated what he had heard from his father. Can you tell Ramesh what is wrong with these statements? First, he mentioned that women always vote the way men tell them to do so. So, what is the point of giving them to the right of vote? So, this statement is wrong because the policy of secret ballot is there. It ensures that an individual can vote for whoever he or she wants. Women are fully capable of taking decisions on their own and selecting the candidate they like. Second one is party politics creates tension in the society. Elections should be decided by consensus, not by competition. So competition works on both as a both deterrent and also a motivator for the political parties. A fear of losing the election and motivation for winning the election works in the favor of people. Next is only graduates should be allowed to stand as candidates for elections. So if you are not studied, it is not the criteria that you cannot be intelligent or you cannot be a good politician. So educational qualification is not required to understand the people need and to represent their interest. Therefore, it is not at all necessary for politicians to be graduates. So these were the question and answer of this topic. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.